New month, new me. The Ottawa Senators, I think, are officially coach killers. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Sportsnet's NHL Power Rankings. Nick Alberga joined alongside Rory Boylen. And again, another coaching casualty in the North Division, Rory.
Yeah, I'm in the Calgary Flames. We were wondering if they were going to be the next team to do this. A couple of other coaches were on the hot seat, but ultimately they had to do something, right? And in a year where it's really difficult to make trades to shake things up, the coach was the change that had to be made. And once again, we've seen this a couple of times under Brad Treliving, where the Flames will go from one kind of coach to an entirely different kind of coach. And so you're going from a player-friendly guy in Jeff Ward to very much a taskmaster in Daryl Sutter, and he's back there. He had success, obviously, in his first go, won a couple of cups with LA after he left Calgary. But here's Calgary this week in our What Are They tier, where I think they fit in perfectly, because we're going to find out very quickly what this team is and kind of what it means for their future, I think, too. How they respond to having Daryl Sutter as their new head coach is probably going to go a long way in determining what Johnny Gaudreau's future is here with the team, what Brad Treliving's future here is with the team, or just generally what the core is going to be that they move forward with. And we'll see if there's a bit of a pushback here for them. I don't know. Is Daryl Sutter going to change his ways at all coming back? Because there's obviously the question of, does that style still work with the players today? I can't imagine him doing it any other way than his own way, and that is going to make for a fantastic, very interesting dynamic.
Not so much on Zoom. He's a man of few words, Daryl Sutter, but the fifth head coach under Brad Treliving. Can you make sense of the fact that teams keep firing coaches after a victory? I can't.
It's the Ottawa Senators this year. You do not want to face the Ottawa Senators if you're a coach on the hot seat. Even win, you can't escape.
Pretty remarkable. Not your year. Let's start at the bottom, work our way up, just like Drake said it. The Dallas Stars. I know they got a lot of games to make up, but you got to start winning those games, right?
Well, that's just it. We've had them kind of in the upper tiers, mid tiers for most of this year, just expecting them to make up points with the games that they had made up, but one win in their past 10 games now. Again, just like last year, the offense has completely dried up. Since the start of February, they have the league's second worst offense, ahead of only the Buffalo Sabres, who you want more space between yourself and the Buffalo Sabres than one spot in any category, it seems, these days. And their defense isn't as tight as it was last year. You're not seeing the same kind of really good season from Miro Heiskanen, who they really need a lot more from back there. When the offense, which wasn't their big strength last year, wasn't going, you had solid goaltending, you had solid defense to fall back on, and even the goaltending's not been really up to par. Anton Khudobin's had some blow-up starts here and there. Jake Oettinger's been pretty good, but I think you're missing Ben Bishop at this point, and that's really showing. And I don't even know if they're going to still be in it by the time he gets back. This is the team you're going to have to figure it out with, right? And so when the offense isn't going, the defense and the goaltending isn't going, you're losing to Columbus, who is struggling, and kind of letting them get off the mat. Boy, I didn't see Dallas struggling to this degree, and so you're just looking at how many points that they have to make up now. And yeah, on one hand, it is easier to make up points in the division when you're just playing these teams, and you can, one hot stretch, and all of a sudden you can be back in it. But that gulf is getting to be a little bit wide, and it is starting to feel like it's just not their year.
Not to make excuses, but number one, no Alex Radulov. Number two, no Tyler Seguin. You mentioned Ben Bishop, and again, it's been a tough year overall, COVID-wise as well, for the Dallas Stars. As we stroll on to the start-selling tier, I won't even discuss the Buffalo Sabres. We'll leave that for later on, maybe as we get closer to the April 12th deadline. But I'm with you on Vancouver, Rory.
Yeah, Vancouver, it's not happening for them this year. And I think they're just, a part of them is a victim of expectations that just got way out of hand after they went further than any Canadian team in the playoffs last year. I don't think it was reasonable to expect them to be challenging for first in this division, but to be out of the playoff picture basically at this point in the season was the extreme, the other direction that I don't think anybody was expecting for this team. And the thing is, they've been playing better hockey lately for about a month. For about half the games that they've been playing this season, they've been playing better and have been, for a lot of measures, shots against, save percentage, third, fourth, maybe fifth in the Canadian division, which you'd think would have them in the playoff running, and it's just not translating into wins. So now it's bad start with some bad luck that followed it, puts them in a really terrible spot that they're not going to be able to crawl back from. And so now you've got to start looking at the trade deadline. You got to start thinking about trading Brandon Sutter. I know that there's talk about them extending Tanner Pearson. I think you've got to trade him and get some assets back, because it's a reminder that this team isn't quite there yet. A really good, talented core that you can feel good about in the future. But I still think they got to be thinking about adding draft picks, adding a few more prospects to build out that a little bit more for the brighter days that are ahead. And it's going to be hard to do given what we hoped this team was going to be. But I think you got to start selling and do it now ahead of any kind of quarantine. Teams are going to want to get a little bit proactive. And so if you can find that trade, I'd rather do it sooner than later.
I'm with you on that front. We talked a bit briefly off the top about the Calgary Flames. I still wonder what this means for Sam Bennett and his trade value if he's out the door. Jeff Ward loved healthy scratching him, and to his credit, I mean, a lot of coaches have enjoyed healthy scratching Sam Bennett. But within that, what are they tier? The Montreal Canadiens have made a coaching change as we speak. They've won 1 of 4 games under Dominic Ducharme. And your thoughts on the Pittsburgh Penguins? They've won 7 of 11, I should say, under Hextall and Berkey here.
I mean, yeah, what are they? Exactly. Perfect place for them again.
Yeah.
I mean, this team, interestingly, like any time that they've been faced with a coaching change, a GM change, some kind of internal turmoil, they've been pretty good at bouncing back historically with this core. So maybe it shouldn't be a surprise that they have responded in the way that they have. But I mean, what are they really? Are they really back to that cup contender? I don't think so. I still think you're seeing struggles from Chris Letang. I don't think Evgeny Malkin has got back to his peak self. And as long as they're not there, I don't see how they can contend with the top teams in this division. I don't even think it's a guarantee that they're a playoff team at this point yet. So we need a little bit more time. Maybe by the trade deadline, we'll see some more by then. And if they can maintain what they've been doing that much longer, then maybe you start thinking of them as buyers, at least for this season, and maybe that there's a push there. Tristan Jarry is going to be a huge X factor in how far that they can go, but they've been kind of one extreme and then the other, so it is kind of a mystery how they will play out long term, but it is starting to turn in their favor and making them look like a much better team lately.
This is Mark Friedman's world. We're just living in it. You know this. The former Flyer turned Pittsburgh Penguins loved the revenge goal on Thursday night. That was outstanding. Established threats, I think pretty much at this point, it goes without saying. You got Carolina, Philadelphia, Boston, Washington, Colorado, and the St. Louis Blues. So let's hop ahead, to the division favorites, where you like the New York Islanders to come out of the East Division this season.
Oh, man. I mean, right now, these are going to be dynamic, right? But the Islanders, I remember about a month ago, I moved the Islanders down a tier to the second from the bottom. They were really struggling. Barry Trotz was calling his team out a little bit. And I guess they hurt us, Nick, because they've been amazing since then.
They love me on Long Island.
I know they do. You're the favorite. But since the calendar flipped over to February, they've been the second best team in the entire league by points percentage, behind only the Tampa Bay Lightning. Their D is solid as we all expected. Their goaltending is solid. The offense has been a little bit there. They beat Boston twice last month, including a huge lopsided win in there as well. So just the way that they've been going for the last 4 weeks, I think you've got to give them, at least for now, you've got to give them that placement in this division, in this tier, ahead of Boston, ahead of Washington, who either one of them could leapfrog the Islanders. All three of them are kind of really tight with each other right there. But because the Islanders have beat Boston, because there's a little uncertainty with Washington in what is Ilya Samsonov going to do now that he's back from COVID? Are there any lingering effects of either that or being off the ice for as long as he was? And the fact that he's still a young goalie, right? I have no doubt that Washington and Boston will be fine, but the way the Islanders are going right now, and the fact that they lasted longer than any of these teams in the playoffs last year, you can't forget. You can't underrate this team anymore. The long gone are the days of that. We shouldn't be doing that anymore. So just how long they've been going this strongly, I think you've got to put them in the top tier as a division favorite right now.
Yeah, with you on that front. I think right now in the East, there's 5 teams vying for 4 playoff spots, and we'll see how it shapes out. Roy, thanks so much for this.
See you next week, Nick.
There you have it. That's Rory Boylen. I'm Nick Alberga. This has been another edition of Sportsnet's NHL Power Rankings.